We've been getting questions about the new VoiceThread, and I'm going to now take you through a fairly extensive explanation of how the new VoiceThread that lives inside of BlackBoard works. This just started the summer of 2016, and so directions that I've had in this module before are out of date, and I have now eliminated those. So let me show you how the new VoiceThread works. I'm going to click here on the 9 elements of digital citizenship. I'm going to go down here to where it says VT. We will use this to develop our ebook. The folder that's above it is essentially a location where I have put all kinds of ways for you to understand how VoiceThread works. But these are also out of date because they do not show how it works within BlackBoard now. So we're going to correct that. First thing I want to do is click on this link that says we will use this to develop our ebook. It will take me into the VoiceThread. Now, the first time I do this, it's going to ask me to log in with my Ulink username and my Ulink password. This means that I am creating a VoiceThread unique to me. And as you can see, this is where they start showing up. Now, one of the first things that I want to do when I start this process is I'm going to click on where it says Create. And the first thing that comes up is asking me for some media. Now, media in VoiceThread can be anything from a PowerPoint to a JPEG picture file to a PNG picture file, and we have discovered that using YouTube videos are extremely simple. And so the first step would be I would go out and start finding pictures that I want to use. That should be your first step, is locating pictures. Now, I don't have any right now. So how would I do that? Well, obviously, I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to Google my topic, which is digital access, and I'm going to ask for it to look for images. And Google organizes it very nicely. It even shows me in terms of citizenship, it shows me in terms of schools, and it shows me examples. So this becomes a very simple process of you thinking through an explanation based upon your framework. Now, I'm not going to go over the framework here necessarily because I've already done that in a previous video. But the whole idea here is you're looking for things that you can use to answer those 4 parts to the digital citizenship framework. And let's look at that framework again. The first part of it is awareness, which is nothing more than the definition of whatever your element is. In my case, I'm doing digital access. The understanding, the ability to grasp the uses of that technology that are considered appropriate and inappropriate. So in other words, you're looking at the appropriate ways or the inappropriate ways, or in my particular case with digital access, I'm looking at what we would consider to be appropriate for students to have digital access, and what do we see when it's inappropriate. In other words, what are the problems with digital access? The action is, this is the correct way. This is what we should do. And then finally, the deliberation. He calls this deliberation in one edition of his book. In another edition, he calls it evaluation. And in this one, it's basically thinking about how the technology was being used and determining if it is correct. Now, this feeds into that, a scenario that you create. So the scenario should help us understand the deliberation. In other words, here's the scenario, and this is what I think you ought to do. Okay, now, having looked at that, let's jump back into the VoiceThread, and let's jump back into my Google, where I've been looking for things, and I'm going to essentially go in and find pictures that I want to use. That looks good. So I'm going to save that image as. I'm going to put it on my desktop or in a folder, either way. I'm going to keep looking for more pictures because there's some really good ones here. Here's a nice picture where we basically are showing a classroom where everyone has a computer. So let's go ahead and let's use that one. We're going to save that image as well. We'll call that one Classroom. Sometimes when you save pictures off of Google, they're all the same name, so it'll overwrite your picture. And finally, let me just grab an example from In Schools. Let's look for a good picture for In Schools. Oh, there's the classic one where a kid is sitting in front of a computer. Oh, I kind of like that one. Okay, so I'm going to use this one. And again, I'm going to look at, you'll see that it's got a title up there. And I'm going to change that so I don't overwrite a file. Okay, I'm going to save all this. But of course, you're looking for a lot more stuff. You could create a PowerPoint and upload it. The PowerPoint would basically be a slide with your different aspects of the framework with an explanation. Or you can do it this way with just pictures and you talking about it. Either way is very acceptable. So I'm going to go back in here, and now I'm going to add my media. I'm going to go to my desktop where I put everything, and I'm going to start putting those now into my VoiceThread. Now, the first thing it does when you start working is it wants you to give it a title. This is really good because you don't ever lose your VoiceThread. Okay, there's my first one. I'll keep adding more media that I have found. I've already created my word cloud, so I'll go ahead and put that in there as well. Again, I'm adding just more and more pictures that I have found into my VoiceThread. Obviously, you're going to need more than what I'm doing here. I'm just showing you for demonstration purposes. Let me show you, though, the cool thing that we have discovered. So if I go to YouTube, and I want to use a YouTube in my VoiceThread, which, by the way, I'm allowed to do, and I'm looking for things that have to do with digital access. So what I have to do now is kind of go through here and look at just hundreds and hundreds of examples of digital access where people have either made them or they are student made. There's some really good ones here. And so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do some watching. So let's look at this first one, which is a Go Animate.
From Clarksville School. I have learned all about digital access, and I am going to tell you some things I know. To have digital access, you need technology like a computer, iPhone or tablet, almost anything that can connect you to the internet.
I'm going to go ahead and stop this, and I'm going to say this is what I want to use. I'm going to go up here and highlight and copy the URL, the address of this. I'm going to come back into my VoiceThread. I'm going to add media, but this time I'm going to click on URL, and now I'm going to put the URL, the address of that YouTube video in, and I'm going to save it. And just like that, it brings it in to my VoiceThread. I can move it around, put it in any order that I want so that I have finally created the structure of my VoiceThread. When I've done that, I'm ready to comment. So I'll start here, and I'll click on comment, and I'll click on the plus sign, and I'm going to pick the microphone. I'm going to tell it to allow. So now I'm ready to add my VoiceThread, my voice. So I'm going to come down below my picture, and I'm going to click on the little plus sign, and I'm going to click on the microphone. As soon as I do, it starts recording. I'm now talking about whatever particular part of the framework that I'm in. Of course, the first one we talk about is the definition. Digital access is the idea of everyone having access to technology. I'll stop the recording, I'll save it, and it appears over here. I then can move to my next slide and continue the process. Click on the arrow.
Hey, I'm Sophie from...
On this particular one, I've got a video. And so in this video, what I can do is I can click on it and I can say that, as you can see here, it says, when you're recording, draw on the screen and use the video controls. I'm going to go ahead and just start talking and say, this video will show you all about digital access. I'm going to save that one. And when this page, this slide comes up, it will play my talking about it first, and then it'll show the video. I'm going to go ahead and just start talking and say, this video will show you all about digital access.
Hey, I'm Sophie from...
Okay, you can see that it did just that. Now, I'm going to keep adding my various slides. And I click on the X to get out. And that's how you do it. It's as simple as that. Now, what do I do when I'm finished? How do I get it to my wiki space? Well, I basically double click on it. Here's my finished product. As soon as I do, it starts. I can watch it, see how it turned out. I'm going to go up here to the drop-down menu, and I'm going to come down to where it says Embed. I'm going to make sure that everybody can see it. I can change how big it is if I want to by changing these numbers here. If I would like it to be very large on my page, I normally add 200 to the numbers. And then I can copy the embed code. That's it. That's all there is for getting the embed code that I'm now going to take over to my page. And I've already hit the edit button. We know all about this in our wiki spaces. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go down to other HTML, and I'm going to paste in my new code. I'm going to save it. I get a gray box. I'll save it again. And there's my very lovely large voice thread on my wiki spaces. Now, that's rather quick, but I think you get the idea. The important things to realize is the following. We no longer have to go to VoiceThread.com. We can go right into the module where we have a VoiceThread item added in. When I click on that item for the first time, it'll ask me to go in and sign in. I always think that if you open it in a new tab, it makes it easier to work with. Whatever you've created will be sitting here waiting for you. Once you have finished your creation, you're going to go to, and I'm going to use John's here. Hope he doesn't mind.
Digital communication.
Once I get through, I can go up here and I can come down here to the embed. I can get the code, and it's as simple as then transferring it. Excuse me, John. It's as simple as then transferring that code over to here. That easy. All right. I hope this has been an update on how to do VoiceThread inside of BlackBoard. Again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to text me or email me.